Hello, everybody. Welcome to this wonderful, wonderful free webinar on using OSINT bookmarklets. I am Micah Hoffman, and this is my wonderful colleague,
Griffin Glynn. And for me, I'm over here.
Oh, sorry.
Your hands went the wrong direction, but they knew it was me because I'm the only other person here.
They did. Yes, it's just you and me. We've been talking here before the actual webinar started, and loving the fact that this is actually one of our most global audiences for a live web stream that we've ever had. This is great. People from Africa, from Europe, from Asia, North America, South America. Bet we even have some Aussies out there. So wherever you are, welcome to the webinar. We're thrilled that you're here with us for this this venture into bookmarklets. A brief thing about us, Griffin and I are from myosint.training. We have a website out there that has a whole bunch of free and paid training, and that training focuses on open source intelligence. Griffin, what's OSINT?
Yeah. So open source intelligence, the reason why we're all here on this webinar, it's the finding, the gathering, the analyzing, collecting, and so on of information. Nowadays, primarily online, although we still have to give deference to our roots where we used to have to go into physical buildings and review things manually and learn about things. But nowadays, it's heavily on the internet, the open source intelligence world. And it's really cool to see representatives here from so many different sectors. I'm seeing lots of names of people that I know from social media, from LinkedIn, people in investigative journalism and law enforcement and recruiting, people counter trafficking people, all kinds of different stuff happening here. So this is super cool. This is going to be a very casual experience for everybody. We did not put together a bunch of boring slides or anything.
No slides.
None of that stuff. We're going to do this totally off the cuff. Things are going to break. Things are going to fall apart. We're going to get through it together. But ultimately, we're going to have a lot of fun because the topic is something that Micah and I love. We absolutely love these things. And we're super excited to be able to do this for free for a lot of people and bring another capability, hopefully, to a lot of people's toolboxes. We are recording this webinar, and it's going to be played online later. So if you're watching this later, welcome.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about bookmarklets, obviously, and how you can use them to accomplish a bunch of OSINT tasks. Now, bookmarklets are not anything that is brand new. In fact, doing some research for this webinar, people have been talking about bookmarklets within the OSINT arena for literally years, 3, 4, 5 years or more. What Griffin and I are going to do is we're going to break down why you need OSINT bookmarklets, what they're going to do for you, what problems they solve. Because I don't know about you, but I hate it when somebody's like, here's a great tool that does all these things. And you're like, well, what problem does it solve that's going to make my life easier or going to make my OSINT work faster or more efficient or whatever? So we aim to show you all of that stuff as well. And we do have some new tools and techniques for you to use in your work. So if you stick around, we'll show you that too. The big thing that we are not going to do is teach you how to make your own OSINT bookmarklets. The reason is, as Griffin and I were talking just before this, it's complicated and it's challenging and it's hard. And we are going to be working on a create your own bookmarklet class, but for now, we're going to show you what they are, how to use them, and essentially how you can be a good consumer and user of bookmarklets that other people have made. All right.
Yeah. We put together the kind of bookmarklets that we actually use in our work all the time. These are literally things that we're accessing every day. And we're going to show you a bunch of different ones that we have here, not the entirety of the repo that we have of the entire library, but we're going to give you enough to understand what's going on and to be dangerous, help you understand what they're doing, and give you some ideas for problem solving. Our collection of these things will grow over time. We'll continue to add different sites and capabilities and things like that. And we're going to keep that all free for you for as long as we have it. But I think it's really going to open some doors. If you're not already using these, I think you're going to be really excited about the stuff we do today.
Yeah. So let's talk for a moment about what a bookmarklet is. And if you've never heard of a bookmarklet, it's kind of a bookmark, but it's also a bookmark that does something. It executes what we call JavaScript code. JavaScript is on many, many, many websites that you and I visit. It's that stuff that makes the site look flashy or does a certain thing. What we're going to do is we're going to use JavaScript, this scripting language that all of our web browsers know about, to accomplish some OSINT tasks. Now, what those tasks are is limited by the imagination of the people that are making the bookmarklets. And Griffin and I have big, big imaginations, huge ones.
Too big sometimes.
Too big. So what we've done is we've created some bookmarklets, like Griffin said, for websites, social media sites, and other things that we use. And so what we figured is we would describe what these capabilities are by actually doing some demos. So Griffin, you ready if I go ahead and start?
You should. Let's do it.
All right. First off, this is our MyOSINT training website. Please visit the website. In the upper right of the page is this tools link. This tools link right here is where I'm going to go to get to all of our free tools. And you don't have to be signed up or anything. This is just out there on the internet. Now, we're going to go through what a lot of these bookmarklets are, but let's start with some easy ones first, like some challenges that we have. If you've been in open source intelligence for any amount of time and done any amount of work, you know that we love opening up more and more and more tabs. Griffin, I bet you have like 30 or 40 of those tabs opening your browser right now.
I keep them open every day.
You got to keep them open, right? I mean, because that makes us feel good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a very simple bookmarklet that we've made that takes a domain name, and then it will open up other tabs in our browser. And what that does is it saves us time. I don't have to open a tab, put in that bookmark, put in that domain, hit enter, open up another tab, go to a certain URL. The bookmarklet is saving me time by doing all those things.
And
go ahead.
I was going to say the reason we like this is there's so many different search sites out there for something like looking up information on a domain name, or maybe an email address or a phone number or something like that. And a lot of times those sites will produce the result where, let's say you're looking up domains on a particular domain lookup site. It will put your search term in the URL. And so what we're doing here is we're using a bookmarklet to recreate all the different URLs for all those different search sites and put in the one thing that we want to look for, and doing it automatically.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the first on one of these bookmarklets. And that's really the second bookmark here, this domain search bookmarklet. And if you want, you can go ahead and follow along at home with us. Just click the domain search bookmarklet and a little pop-up comes up. Now, this type of bookmark is going to ask me some questions, or one question. Then it will take the input that I put in there and use it, like Griffin said, to insert whatever I put in there into the URL and then open up successive tabs. Now, this really helps me out because, again, it saves me time. Let's just go ahead and look up myosint.training. A very important thing is here, it does say enter a domain. Don't put https:// just the domain. Remember, this is a pretty dumb bookmarklet. So whatever you type is exactly what's going to go into those other pages. So if you make sure that before you click the OK button, you actually have a perfect domain in there, myosint.training. I hit it.
Oh,
and
no.
Then, Griffin, what happened?
Oh my God.
I don't see anything happening.
Let's call this whole thing off. I think it's broken.
We're done.
No, you've got a pop-up issue. So this is one of the things that we want to highlight, and you're going to see this probably multiple times, but your browsers are likely going to try to block the pop-up that occurs when those tabs are going to be opened in those recursive tabs. And you're going to have to allow that. So what Micah's done there is clicked on that little icon that says, hey, we had this issue and we blocked these pop-ups. And now he's got a setting option there that says always allow pop-ups and redirects from the tools.myosint.training site. When you select that option and hit done, now you can execute the bookmarklet on the page and you will be able to open up the recursive tabs. Whenever you're having issues, always start with this as your first possible troubleshooting option.
There we go. Now we have a whole bunch of tabs. I don't know if you saw that. When I hit go, we have a whole bunch of tabs that open. Here's whoology.com. It went ahead and inserted whatever I typed into the URL, and then it ran the query. That's it. I mean, so now as an analyst, I can just cycle through tabs and it saves me a bunch of time. Could you make a bookmarklet with your favorite sites? As long as it has that input on the URL, like builtwith.com, which, since I'm using a server in the cloud here, it doesn't like that. Here we've got DNSlytics. These are just some of the websites we use when we do domain research. And you know, it's not doing anything magic, but it does save us some time and effort. So this is the first bookmarklet on domains. And some of them, as you can see, are going to require me to take an extra step, because what we did was automation and can be detected as bot-like activity. So if I go ahead and say, hey, I'm not, oh, I hate traffic lights. Sorry. I might as well just close that. If I did solve that, maybe they gave me fire hydrants or crosswalks, I can do those. If they gave me that, I could solve that, and then it would run the query. So again, your browser is visiting these sites. And this is a really good time for Griffin and I to talk about security. Griffin, are these queries running on my system or running in the cloud on like a server that you and I own?
Yeah, so when you execute this, it's literally happening in your browser, just as if you and your machine are visiting view.dns.info or one of those other services that we showed and conducting the search yourself. So it's going to execute the command that you've given it to go search those different sites, open those tabs, and your browser is making that call to those websites.
And that's one of the really nice things. We always want to maintain our operational security, maintain our privacy when we're doing our research. So having all of these tools operate on our system. I'm using a virtual system out there in the cloud using Chasm virtualization. And I'm using that. So this is all happening in that browser on that system. I'm not sending information to Micah and Griffin's server, and we're not noting what website your browser went to at any time. We just don't have access to any of that data because this happens in JavaScript inside of your browser. So that was a really quick way for us to show you, hey, what happens if you use a prompt and that prompt then opens up successive tabs. But a lot of the things that we want to do within the world of bookmarklets and the world of OSINT has to do with what's in social media or what's on a web page. Now, if you've ever been to a website like this one with Facebook, and you've had to take Dwayne Johnson's account and analyze it, one of the first things that you do is probably grab the Facebook user ID, right? And to do that, it's really, really simple. You just right click on the page, view the page source, let it make another request, turn on line wrap. Then we're going to do a find, a control F for user ID. And here is, let's see, is that it? Let's see, that might be it. Let's see. Let's see if that is his ID by doing facebook.com and then pasting that in there. Nope, that's somebody else's. Let's see. Gosh, I wish there was some easy way for me to pull this out without having to do all of this stuff, because this is confusing, right, Griffin?
Yes, it is. There's a lot going on in there. There's your data, there is the pages data that you're looking at, and it's kind of messy.
It is. So what if we use this thing? This is the Facebook user ID bookmarklet. And the idea here is, instead of it opening up tabs and stuff, it's going to, when I click on it, it's going to look at the current web page, which is that Facebook page. It's going to search through that that source code that I just showed you, looking for specific values, and then it's going to show it to you. So all we do to do it is we click on the little button and drag it to our bookmark bar. That's where bookmarklets come from. I'm making a bookmarklet of JavaScript. So, yeah.
Could you have dragged the bookmarklet for the domain search that you did into your search bar instead of just clicking on it on the page?
I don't know, Griffin. Let's give that a try. I'm clicking on domain search, bringing it up here. I did it.
Amazing.
Sorry, we're both low on blood sugar right now.
You can take these with you, right? You don't have to always come back to our page in order to use these bookmarklets. We designed them to be able to go. You can put them in your browser, take them with you. We'd love to see you back at the site, but you don't have to keep coming back.
Yeah. My suggestion is make a bookmarklets folder if you don't have one, or an OSINT bookmarklets. And then you take this and you put it inside there. And now you've organized it. You can put them in there. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh this page, just holding the refresh button. And I know that in order for these things to be successful, sometimes we need to refresh our target pages. Now, if I go over in here and hit this Facebook user ID, we see that the user ID for this page is 10004423, whatever, and the profile name is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I'll make this bigger for us. There we go. This is a modal dialog, and it pops up on the screen so that you can take a picture of that, or if you wanted to, you could just select this information here, capture it to your notes, and move on. And the way that we can check this out is if we copy that, paste it there, we should come back to our web page here. Okay, so we confirmed that this is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's Facebook profile. And just by clicking this wonderful little bookmarklet, we get that data. And it's so much easier than sorting through all that source code.
That's right. And when you do a lot of social media research in your OSINT work, you're going to have to capture things like user IDs and other data that might be either visible on the screen or maybe behind the scenes in some of that source code. And so because we know what we need to capture a lot, like user IDs, then we created these bookmarklets to be able to automate that repetitive task and take out those extra clicks and time of having to hunt for it like Micah did the first time.
Yeah, you think about all of the different times when you're on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or whatever social media platform, and you have to do the same thing over and over and over again. And you want to be consistent in your work. And maybe you don't have access to a paid tool that does this for you. Let's go ahead and work efficiently. You can use these tools. Now, let's get to the actual tools themselves. We've teased you and shown you a couple of them. Let's show you the actual page. And like Griffin said, this will be growing. This is our tools.myosint.training webpage. And this is the live version that you're probably at too right now. This first column is the name of the bookmarklet and the button that you would then click and drag to wherever you want to put it in your bookmark bar. And then once you do that, you've got a copy of that code. One of the big things that Griffin and I have thought about is, well, websites change, social media sites change, and these bookmarklets need to change too. So you can see the very last column over here is last updated. This last updated tells you when we last updated that specific bookmarklet. Because if you do look for OSINT bookmarklets out there on the internet, you're going to find some really good ones that were made years ago. And because social media sites and other websites change, they no longer work. So what we're going to do is we are going to give you that, hey, we updated this recently, and you should replace your bookmarklet with that newer one here. So when this Facebook user ID bookmarklet gets updated tomorrow or the next day, you may want to replace the one in your bookmarklets, in your bookmarks that's static, with the newer one. We've also done a little bit with trying to make things pop for you. Like Some of you can see that the first 3 bookmarklets here are general bookmarklets for JSON, domain, email, and then all of the social media bookmarklets are green colored. For those of you that can see them, if you cannot see them or have some kind of visual impairment, over here on the 3rd column, we have the icon for the platform as well. So you can see that. We also got some tags. So if you wanted to search for, let's say we find Instagram, we have a whole bunch of Instagram type of bookmarklets that pop up when you search for that Instagram tag. And then here in the middle, we've done our best to put some information about where you use the bookmarklet and what it does. Because the thing I hate is when you get something, you're like, wow, this is a really cool tool. Where do I use it? How do I use it? What's the expected outcome? We did a little bit of rushing to get this ready for this event, but in the coming days, weeks, you'll notice the description sections will start to get a little bit more verbose in what's here, when to use this, what the expected outcome. And maybe we'll put some pictures in there with, hey, you'll see this modal box pop up or something else as well. Okay. One of the biggest things is at the bottom of the page where we talk about what is a bookmarklet if you forget or you just want a refresher. And then we have a couple of methods here to get these bookmarklets into your browser. And it literally says here that you can just click and drag them into your bookmark bar. Or if you want the manual method, this is the actual method that many people use to get a bookmarklet into their bookmarks. And it's a little bit more complicated. Finally, we have the section at the bottom here, which is common issues and problems, which you can click on. We try to give you some of the most frequently found types of errors or issues that come up to people when they use bookmarklets. Cool. Griffin, we've explained bookmarklets. We've shown them a couple of them. What if we dive deeper? What if we jump into like some social media profile and start having some fun?
I'm in. Let's do it. All right. So as I mentioned, these are bookmarklets that we're using all the time. They're doing functions that we commonly do in our work. This is actually the real Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, by the way. That last one was clearly an imposter. And I've already downloaded some of these bookmarklets into my bookmarks bar, and I like to organize them in terms of the site that I'm on. Maybe you want to do this too when you get to pulling these all into your browser and organizing them. But I have a little folder here for Facebook bookmarklets, and I've got a couple of different things that I can do here. You've seen us do the Facebook user ID bookmarklet already. That's the one that displays that little overlay there that tells us the ID and the name. And by the way, one of the reasons that we have this extra piece of information on here, the profile name, is because one of the issues that you could run into potentially is that if your browser isn't refreshed and all of the new information isn't in there, maybe you're looking at lots of different profiles, and you hit this bookmarklet, it could grab data from a profile that you were just on as opposed to the one that you have here on the screen. So that may tell you that you need to reload the page. We might experience that here as we do these. Now, if you've ever gotten to a profile like this and noted that somebody used the privacy features of Facebook to lock their profile, that can be frustrating. And there's still information in this profile that you might need to capture in your investigation, right? So you may still need the user ID, which you can get at. But what if you want this picture? Well, when you click on the profile picture, Facebook tells you, hey, this person has locked their profile and only their friends can see what they share on their profile. And you really want to get that full photo right there because maybe you still need to capture it as part of your investigation. Maybe there's additional information in the picture that you can't see, but ultimately that is a piece of important data for you, right? Now, if you don't have something like this tool, you may do something very manual and rudimentary, like, zoom way in and then try to screen capture it or something like that, but it's just not quite the same. So the source of that image right there, it's being pulled into the page from Facebook's content delivery network. And we can actually get at the URL that that profile picture comes from, even though they won't let us click on it here in the page. And so we built a bookmarklet to do that. So we have one here for a locked profile image. And when I click on that, it actually opens the image in a new tab for me in the highest resolution that I can get at. There's actually 3 different resolution sizes for that photo that are in the background of that page. And this is the best one that you can get. And as you do this, you can see, look, there's some additional content here across the top. Looks like this is a screen capture, maybe from a video. There's a language there, non-English language, that could give you a clue about something. But ultimately, if I needed to capture that person's profile photo, I now have it, whereas previously clicking on that link in the profile itself was going to be a dead end for me. So that's one feature that you can use there. Now, there may be times where you want to perform a search on somebody's profile for content about them, and maybe they don't have a search box here, or maybe in the drop down or in the 3-button menu, they don't have this little search icon. That can happen. You can recreate that search, and we've done a bookmarklet that allows you to do that for those types of profiles, and that's going to be your public content search. So it opens up this dialog box and gives me an opportunity to put in whatever search term I want. And it tells me, hey, you're looking for content about this specific user, right? So you know that you're looking at the right person, and you can conduct your search that way. And as you can see, it's now searching in Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's official page for mentions of Dwayne. So this is something that, as an OSINT researcher, I'm having to recreate manually all the time on profiles that don't have it. It's an easy way to do that by way of a bookmark. All right. How about some Instagram, Micah?
Instagram sounds like a fun place, but what can we do there, Griffin?
Well, we can look at dogs, first of all.
Of course we can.
Who doesn't love dogs? So
Lots of people.
In this case, Dogs Lifestagram is something that maybe some of you follow. There's 180,000 followers on there. And there's lots of different OSINT things that we might want to do. One of the first things that I'm going to want to do when I go onto a profile on Instagram is get their profile ID information. And yes, we have a bookmarklet for that. It's going to do the same type of overlay, excuse me, like what you saw in Facebook. And it's going to tell me this is the profile ID, the display name, and the username for this page. And I can capture all of that in one shot here and just copy and paste it. And I've got that box checked in my research process where I have to capture that information. So that's like one of the first things that I'm always doing when I land on an Instagram profile. Another thing that I might want to do is get at the profile image itself. Now, even though it looks like I can click on this, when you're in Instagram in the browser and you're trying to click on somebody's profile photo, it doesn't actually do anything.
What about right-clicking? Have you tried right-clicking?
So let me try.
Huh.
No right clicks. So Instagram is disabling some features of the website so that scrapers don't come by and get at, the data and things like that. And so the manual way to get this image itself is to right click near it and go into the to inspect it and drill all the way down to the spot where this image is being piped in from. Instead, though, you can use a bookmarklet that we've created, this IG profile pic bookmarklet, and it opens up that image for me in a new tab and gives me a little reminder here that now I can right click on this image and save it. So it isolates that for me right there in a new tab in my browser, making it super easy in the push of one button to be able to get at somebody's Instagram profile photo.
And I love that it removes the mask as well. It doesn't have that circular mask. So if there is extra data there, you can get it.
Yeah. Awesome. One of the other things that you find yourself having to do a lot in social media is capture the content. Now, depending on what the capture is going to be used for, evidentiary value and things like that, you may have specific software and requirements and things like that. But if you just need to grab, let's say, the photo from a post or the various photos from a carousel post like this that has multiples, if you go in here and you right click on this image, it actually doesn't have an option to save it as an image. If you try to save as, it will try to save the entire web page. And that's not what I want, right? I want just this photo of this cute dog right here as part of my investigation. So because that image is being piped in from their content delivery network on Instagram, and I know how to get at the source of it, we have a bookmarklet that isolates that for me. So this one will save the image in a post for me. And you recognize that it's doing the same thing that I had it do for the profile photo. And that's opening it in a brand new tab with a little reminder that I can right click on it. And now I can literally save this image just like that. So no more do you have to drill all the way down and figure out where this is coming in from and get at the actual source of it. You simply just use our bookmarklet, opens it in a new tab, right click and save.
Now, Griffin, you're showing me all these bells and whistles and all these really advanced things in JavaScript I don't understand. Is there some free tool that I can just copy the bookmarklet content into and then say, hey, can you explain this to me in words that I can understand?
You betcha, because that's what I do. And it's ChatGPT, or maybe your other favorite
Copilot, whatever.
Yeah, LLM. So you can pop this into an AI chat, and you can ask it, hey, tell me what this bookmarklet's doing, and things like that. That's a big part of the development of what we do, because I am not a coder in any way, but I do have some pretty cool bookmarklets that do some awesome things. So this is just a demonstration of some of the features in social media that you might apply the bookmarklets to when you need to, perform an OSINT task, like getting at the source information and things like that.
What about carousels? Instagram specifically has this, and I've seen it on TikTok too, where you have like multiple pictures. I'm going to have to download those. Do I run the same thing on multiple pages, or could you break each one of those images out into its own page?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked, Micah.
Yeah, it's a very detailed question. Have you noticed that? It's very specific.
Once again, on this carousel, you can see that there's no option to save it as an image. And you can see there's those little dots there indicate that there's 3 photos in this carousel. And as part of my investigation, I may need to capture those. So yes, we have a bookmarklet specifically for carousel of photos in Instagram. And what it actually does is it opens up the post itself. And then from within the post, it grabs each one of the URLs for each of the images in the carousel and opens all of them individually in new tabs so that I can right click on each and save them as an image. So again, efficiency, right? If I needed to capture all of these very quickly, rather than maybe doing screen captures and drawing a box around it and doing all that manual stuff, I can just hit the bookmarklet and boom, I've got them in new tabs. I can right click and save them. I'm good. So this is definitely repeating a task that we have to do manually in the past, making it very easy to do now, just the push of a button.
This is great for Instagram, but what if my targets are on like a more on a different platform, like TikTok? Can we use these types of things on TikTok too?
Turns out they have dogs on TikTok also. And if you're capturing dog-related content like I am today, this stuff may be of interest to you. So there's actually lots of cool things going on in TikTok. And by the way, we're developing a course on that right now that should be published in the somewhat near future. But there's a lot of content here within the page that is not actually visible to you, that could be of interest to you in an OSINT investigation. But at the very least, you're often going to want to get at things like the user ID, like we've done in Facebook and Instagram, or maybe the profile photo and things like that. So we have a specific TikTok bookmarklet that accesses the JSON in TikTok for this profile. So I'm going to refresh this profile here to make sure that I get
JSON. What's that?
That's something for you to explain.
That's JavaScript object notation. It's a format of data that websites use with a parameter and then a value like profile picture and then the URL to a profile picture. This is inside of many web pages or loaded alongside of web pages. And it's what web pages use to put different pieces of data in different places. What we can do is we can take a look at that raw JSON, and then sometimes we can see things that we wouldn't normally have seen. Griffin?
Right. Yep. So I'm going to hit my TikTok JSON bookmarklet here, and it's going to pop up in a new window, a whole bunch of information.
That's pretty small.
And I am going to zoom way in. So
Now,
this top section
I'm
here,
no coder, Griffin, but I can see ID. I can see nickname. Ooh, and avatar. What are those?
so in the case of TikTok, Micah, they actually have 3 different size avatar images. And if you were to right click on the photo in a TikTok profile and open it in a new tab, which you can, you actually get the small version of the photo. And that's not good enough for me as a person who wants to have the best of everything, right? So I want that larger one. So this URL actually exists within the page, but you wouldn't be able to get to it by right clicking. But in our bookmarklet here, we've isolated that URL. So you could copy this and paste it into a new tab and get at the large image of the avatar. So let's just do that, because what's better than doing a live demo?
Looks pretty long, but it's easy to read, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to copy it and we're going to put it into our browser. And look at how large that is.
Oh, that's huge.
And also I've zoomed in a little bit, so you have that. But this is the largest version of that image that's available to you. So for capturing purposes, that's important. And that information is stored in the JSON, which we're accessing using the bookmarklet. Now, there's other information in the JSON of a TikTok user profile, and you can scroll down. This is actually, quite long, has a lot of other information in it. You can see that it's also grabbing things out of the bio, like the link that they have in there, the unique ID and nickname, which, by the way, those can be changed. Both of those can be changed on a TikTok profile. So at this particular moment in time, you may want to capture what those are, and so on. And we won't go down through all of this, but there's quite a bit of information in here in the JSON. This one for TikTok in particular, we'll look at whether you're on a page, like a profile page, and give you the profile information, or it will look at if you are on a post. After I get done watching this video,
your audio messed up there for a second.
I was going to say after I get done watching this video, but I won't do that. So in this case, if you access the TikTok JSON bookmarklet from a post, you're going to still get the user details. And there's a reason why. We talked about it earlier. Do you remember, Micah?
No, I don't.
All right. So sometimes you may need to refresh your page.
Oh.
We'll pause that, even though it was going to be cute. Refresh the page to make sure that the data that's loaded in our browser is going to be what we want for this particular post. Hit the TikTok JSON, and now you can see that it's actually led me to the video details.
Pulled some different data.
Yeah, different data specific to this exact video. So now you can see attributes of the video. You can see the exact creation time of it.
I can see those numbers, but that's not a date, Griffin. Come on.
It definitely is.
What?
Yeah.
You're kidding me.
All you have to do is translate it.
Wow, that sounds like an OSINT challenge.
It is an OSINT challenge. Maybe somebody in the chat can guess what type of time that is and how you would translate it. But yes, it's an encoded time. It's Epoch. You can put it into an Epoch converter, and it will tell you based on how many seconds it's been since, what is it, January 1st of 1970 or something like that.
Nice. Look at you pulling that out. Well done.
I keep that on a Post-it note on my screen just so it comes up. How many seconds it's been since then. But this gives you that exact information that as an OSINT researcher, you may need to capture about this particular content, right? And again, there's other data in here that we won't go into, but like the image, that thumbnail image that you see for the video before it gets played, maybe that's something that you need to reverse search. You can actually access that particular frame in some of these here, like cover, origin cover, and so on. There's a lot of data in here, and our bookmarklets are going to help you get at that data so that you can perform better analysis and better capture.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big messages that we have for you today, is that the OSINT software, websites, tools that we use, these are going to be showing you extra stuff. Some of them will show you a specific piece of data, for instance, that ID or the display name, but some of them are going to lead you down a path to be able to access and really start interpreting some data that was always in the web page that you and I probably haven't looked at. And that's because it's hard to look at it. It's encoded, or it's all on one line, or it's just inaccessible. These bookmarklets, some of them, like the TikTok viewer that we just saw, a Telegram revealer, and one that I'll show you in just a moment called a JSON revealer. These are aimed at showing you stuff that's been in the page the whole time that may be able to give you that specific bit of data that you need. For instance, in the TikTok ones, you probably saw we had the bit rate for the audio. We had a direct link to the music. We had a direct link to other pieces of data that might be really useful in your investigations, wherever they are. Cool. All right. So, Griffin, you and I have already talked about the OPSEC, or operational security concerns, right? One, we never want to run other people's code without knowing what it does, because gosh, they could be doing something bad to my browser. If I'm in Instagram, it could steal my cookie and then send it off to some other website where they collect it, and then they log into their browser using my cookie, and now they're impersonating me on a website. That all could happen. And so our suggestion is, trust us. We're not going to do anything harmful to you.
Wait, you just said don't trust people on the internet.
I can't do that stage face. No, seriously though. I mean, these bookmarklets are not anything malicious, but if you do have questions about them, go ahead and put them into your favorite code analysis tool, whether it's an AI or whether it's just a person that knows JavaScript, and say, hey, is there anything bad in here? And if there is, let us know, because there should not be. Another thing that we always want to do is think about how the destination website might be interpreting our use of bookmarklets. I'll give you an example. One of my good friends, Nico Dakins, Dutch OSINT guy, created a really cool bookmarklet that when you click it, it scrolls down the page at a constant rate, faster, slower, whatever, but it scrolls down the page. For me, that is an awesome bookmarklet, because gosh, how many times are you just like scrolling? I have like tendinitis of my scroll finger. But that constant scrolling, that can be something that can be possibly detected by the social media platform, especially if you're scrolling much faster and much more consistently than a normal mouse wheel move would allow. So you need to think about what a bookmarklet does, and could it reveal that you're using automation on some social media platform? And if so, you might want to use it, or maybe you want to use a different technique to achieve your OSINT goals. Okay.
Yeah, one of the cool things about the ones that we're showing here that do things like retrieving the user ID and other data that's in the page is that that data has already been rendered in your browser. It's already there. You're just using the bookmarklet to reveal it. So you're not necessarily making, in some of the cases, you're not making automated requests. You're just looking at data that's already in that page.
Yeah. So the other really cool thing about some of these bookmarklets is that they allow us to see deeper into the web pages. Many times applications now push a lot of data into your browser. And then depending upon what feature of that web page you use, it'll pull a certain piece of data, then put it on a certain part of the page. But your browser may have access to a lot more data than you previously knew about. To show this, I'd like to bring up one of the things that Griffin figured out a little while ago. Griffin, you want to set this up for us? What are we seeing here on the CashApp app?
Sure. So CashApp, like a lot of social component applications, have usernames that people can have that are unique. And in this case, we're looking at Jane Doe. And Jane Doe's profile on the web shows this cash code, this CashApp code, which somebody could scan and then be able to pay that person or ask for money. But as an investigator, I'm always curious about what else is going on in that page. What other data is available to me? And as I researched this, at one point, I realized that in the web version of profiles, they're not showing me the profile photo that a person has if they do have one set up. However, that data is still available in the web page, even though it's not being displayed. So I figured out a manual way to access that data through the developer tools of the page. And then Micah automated it by making it a bookmarklet.
Cool. So let's take a look at this. All right. Now, again, I'm going to show you, we're going to go backwards a little bit. I'm going to show you the manual way, and then I'll show you the easy way. All right. So the manual way, like Griffin said, we can go into the developer tools. I'm in a different web browser now. I'm in Firefox. So here I've got the web developer tools. I can hit the little box here to change to a mobile view. And when I do that, look at that. We now have a profile picture here, right? Which we didn't see before. Normally, we see that. So this was one of those aha moments that we had when Griffin found this out. He's like, hey, we have the data there. We just need to bring it up. So let's go back to our tools page. And I'm just going to do a Control F for CashApp. Here's the CashApp profile bookmarklet. And it says, hey, you can use it on the CashApp profile page, for instance, this one, to extract profile data. So all we do is click on that, drag it up to our bookmarks bar, which looks a little different because I'm using Firefox. And then we come back to the page and we hit that. And there we go. Now we have a larger version of this person eating some food, and we have her name, her formatted Cash App, little bit of other information that we were able to pull from the source code of the page. And it's all there for you to take a screenshot of, download, whatever you want. If you want to right click on this and open it in its own tab, you could do. I got to get rid of that picture. I'm sorry. Oh, how do you make it go away? Just click somewhere else that's not on that area. Okay. So this shows you that there's like hidden stuff. And if you're one of those OSINT people that is interested in finding new stuff, I've got another bookmarklet that you're going to really enjoy. This is one that looks more at that JSON data that Griffin showed us in the TikTok social media platform. You see, we have a whole bunch of JSON data in many different web pages, including this one right here, this CashApp page. Let's go ahead and get that JSON bookmarklet right here, JSON revealer. I'm just going to drag it up to my toolbar. Yes, I'm going to pick that up. There you go. It's a JSON revealer. Come back over here, and when I click this, now we have a whole bunch of information that may show up in the page, but may not. For instance, here we see, is it Apple mobile web app capable? Yes. Here we have her username, her profile username, the image. You see that we have a width, a W, and an H, a height. Maybe we can get a bigger image or a smaller image. We have a whole bunch of data here, including an ID. And that was already in the page, just it wasn't being shown to us. It's what kind of makes this page what it is. But there's a lot of other places on the internet, like Wikipedia, that has JSON as well. For instance, if we click on the JSON revealer here, you can see that we now get the date published, the date modified, the headline, and other information. So this JSON revealer is one of those things that if a web page has JSON, JavaScript object notation kind of parameter, you see this parameter here, and then value, and then another parameter value. If it has that in the page, this will reveal that to you. One of the challenges is when there's too much data too. For instance, let's go to tiktok.com/Van City Reynolds. I think that's him. No.
It couldn't be that easy in a live demo.
Well, if we don't fail at least once in a demo, people think that we've rehearsed this, and we haven't.
That's true. We didn't rehearse anything.
No. This is Ryan Reynolds' profile on TikTok. Now, instead of using that TikTok bookmarklet that Griffin showed you, I'm just going to hit this JSON revealer one. And this JSON revealer one, it shows you all of the JSON, not just those specific ones for users. And here we have Webcast API, we have plugins. There are a lot of different pieces of data in here, most of which we don't need. These are things that just help the web page, be the web page. So what we generally do when we're doing this OSINT O-Day looking for new stuff is we'll do a Control F and we'll type in Ryan Reynolds. There we go. Now we've gotten to a place where it gives us his name. And let's see if we can do highlight all. Here's another one up. Here we've got the image to his profile. We have the description of his name. We have his URL. And if we kept going down, we may find things like how many followers he has. In fact, let's just see if probably going to fail, but that's okay. Followers. Let's see. I'm just searching through all the places where it says followers. Yeah, it might not be in here, but you may be able to see how many followers or following somebody has. It just depends on the website itself. So you can use that JSON bookmarklet to explore many other sites that are not just TikTok or Instagram. All right, Griffin, I see that we've got some comments coming in here. Any of these ones that you want to address here on the stream?
Let's see. So Timothy asked a good question about whether the bookmarklets will notify the social media pages that you're using them. So it depends, right? In some cases, as I mentioned, like, for example, getting at the user ID, that data is already in your browser. You've already called that to your browser by visiting their page. The bookmarklet in that case is just looking and saying, here's the value that we see, and showing it to you in a more accessible way. There are other bookmarklets, though, that interact with the web pages. So we have ones that are, for example, the domain search is going to replicate search for a domain name over, let's say, 10 different websites. Each of those sites is able to see where that call is coming from when you visit the page, and could potentially do things like throw a caption in front of you, or block the traffic if they suspect that it's automated traffic. And so social medias could do a similar thing. I'm thinking about instances where maybe you open a series of photos from posts in different tabs very, very quickly. And maybe they can detect things like that. I don't know for sure. I can tell you that I've been using these bookmarklets on a personal scale and have not experienced any limiting issues on my social media research profiles, my sock puppet accounts. I don't know if you take that to a larger scale or if you put other automation with it, what kind of things could happen, but it is good to think about that type of thing.
Yeah. So there are a couple of other things that people are asking. For instance, would the JSON reveal information like phone number, emails? It depends. If that stuff's being pushed to your web browser, yes, it can. And so one of the things I do when I'm looking for those opportunities to grab open source intelligence or open source data from a website is I'll just click on that JSON revealer bookmarklet and just see what's there. I might search for the word profile or followers or avatar or picture or something like that. Depending on what I'm looking for, search for phone, search for email, search for like at, something like that. It just depends on what you're looking for and what's available to you on the page. All right. Questions about using these along with sock puppets or research accounts and VPNs and other things. That's general OPSEC. Griffin and I both are using research accounts to visit these social media sites so that our personal and work accounts are not being impacted by anything we do. And if these research accounts do get banned, our personal sites still exist, hopefully. So always use operational security. Okay.
Yep, and we do have some courses on things like operational security and creating research accounts and things like that. We also reference some of that in our free intro to OSINT video, which is about 2 hours long and kind of gives a general overview of a lot of different open source intelligence topics. We can drop that link in there in the chat as well, but it's a free intro video that covers a lot of bases. It doesn't go into the details of how to do a lot of things, but it gives you a general idea of maybe where you need to go learn, where you might, have some deficiencies in your operations that you want to, go ahead and fill fill in.
Yeah. So just so you know, we have a mix of free and paid courses over here on myosint.training. If you hit the all courses, you'll see the intro to OSINT course, which is free. We have another one, and this Bookmarklets, how to use Bookmarklets, will be a free course over here for anybody to visit and to take. Also, we'll be putting it on our YouTube channel if you didn't hear that at the beginning. We also have a whole bunch of other courses on things like TikTok and Instagram and other pieces of OSINT that you might be looking for. If you're looking for information that, if you're looking for training courses that are going to really get you propelled in a certain direction, the OSINT Immersion Bundle is our core courses, and it has all of the things that you need to be successful in open source intelligence. We also have our All OSINT Course Bundle, which gives you access to all of the courses that we make, and you are welcome to sign up for that as well.
Yep.
Griffin?
Yeah, if you really like Bookmarklets like we do, we hope to hear from you about it. Please, we do want this information to reach a lot of people, so please feel free to share it in your social media. Talk about your experience with it. We'll have those videos up as soon as possible for people to be able to watch. And then we do have an option for you to suggest if you have bookmarklets that you'd like to have built. No promises on that, since we're doing this all for free, obviously, and time frame and things like that. If you really, really like this topic and you want to learn about how to build your own, we are developing a course for that we hope to have up soon, that's going to really go into the details of how did we make all these? How did we find the different data points? Like, how did we figure out how to put it together? And we want to bring that opportunity to you all as far as learning goes too. But ultimately, thanks to everybody for coming out today. This has been super awesome. It was really great to see where everybody came from, how many different, parts of the world were represented in just this little webinar. So that was super cool.
Yeah. And if you enjoyed this, please, please, please send us a shout out on any social media. We are on the Twitters, X, LinkedIn, Mastodon, Blue Sky. We're all over the place. And if you Google our names, you'll definitely find our social media handles. Please, please, please tell people that you like this and to look out for that free course that's coming. Everybody, thank you so much for being here and spending the last hour with us. We've enjoyed it. You going to say anything, Griffin?
Bye.
Oh, that's, I was looking.
Yeah.